I have to say, the SkyTrak Plus at a closeout price of $1,795 is just a killer value.
Mark, you're not going to get everything you learn in the game of golf just by going to a lesson. It takes time away from that instructor, away from that coach, working on your own game. And
the speed training that's built into the ST Max is outstanding. It's very, very well put together.
Lacking that data is definitely concerning, and it can be a deal breaker for some people, but...
And we're back with another edition of Golf Tech Weekly presented by PlayBetter. I'm Marc Shaforgian, joined as always by Daniel Fitzpatrick. Daniel, how you doing today?
Good. Another week to be back on the pod, Mark. Thanks for joining me. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Right on, right on. So today, Daniel, we've talked mostly about products that are new in 2026, things that are hitting the market right now or are soon to come, stuff that we saw at the PGA show. But we were talking offline and kind of identifying some topics that might be good to explore that are not necessarily new, but are still very, very relevant. And one of the big ones is the whole SkyTrak ecosystem and product catalog. For people that may not remember, SkyTrak originally launched in 2014. Then they made a huge leap in 2023 with the SkyTrak Plus, which added simulator compatibility and a lot of other really cool features. And then in October of last year, they came out with the ST Max, which is more expensive than the SkyTrak Plus and not necessarily a lot different, although there are some key differences. So those are the things we kind of wanted to explore today, kind of walk through those products, how they compare and contrast, how maybe they are situated in today's overall market landscape, and essentially kind of answer the question of, is SkyTrak still the best value play in the mid-market simulator space in 2026? So I guess, Daniel, maybe the thing to kind of kick us off here is to talk through kind of the SkyTrak Plus versus the ST Max. I think there's a lot of consumers out there that may not see these products as different at all and are confused by the price difference. Why don't you tell us a little bit about just kind of some of the high points about those two products and how they compare to each other?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, so obviously, you know, when the ST Max came out, there was a little bit of excitement, but also a little bit of concern, like, you know, what has really changed with this new ST Max device, and going all the way back to the original SkyTrak, you know, these devices, they've been in this business for a long time. So when they do make changes, they're purposeful. So it is nice to see some of the upgrades that they have made in the SkyTrak ST Max, with still, you know, respecting the roots of the SkyTrak Plus, because at the end of the day, that was a really successful and still is a really successful launch monitor that fits really nicely into that market that it's in, right in that middle level of, you know, highlighting abilities for serious golfers, but still being that, you know, that perfect option for the recreational golfer to get everything they want out of a golf simulator, but also out of a practice tool. So yeah, there's definitely some distinct differences. I mean, both of these devices are both powered by radar and camera. Mm-hmm. So that's certainly unique because there's not very many devices that are placed where they are that use both of that type of technology. There are devices that sit behind you that are, you know, mainly radar devices and use camera for certain metrics or, video capture, certain things like that. But there's no other devices out there that use both radar and camera to capture all that data, and being placed, you know, right by the golf ball. So you don't have all that required space. You know, as long as you're comfortable swinging a golf club, you can use these devices. And that's really attractive, because, like, you know, we've talked about in almost every episode, not everybody has that required space or that required footprint to be able to use some of these products. So to have this unique technology and be able to capture everything like this is really, really unique. So first and foremost, there is a little bit of additional battery life in that ST Max, and some shorter latency in the reaction time of the golf ball being, or the animation starting in front of you. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that they've cut down that lag time by about half a second, which doesn't sound like much, but it is definitely noticeable when you hit shots on it. So, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, SkyTrak, when you hit a shot and you're basically, in Golf Simulator, you're waiting for the animation to start in front of you. The SkyTrak devices do have a longer delay from when that shot hits the screen to when the animation starts or the ball starts flying through the air in front of you. It is a little bit of a disadvantage when you're selling against other products, but it is noticeably better in this ST Max. And from my understanding, Marc, it's because of some upgraded processors internally on the device, which allows it to be a faster response time, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think you nailed it. Just to kind of recap those differences between the ST Max and the SkyTrak Plus. Just as Daniel said, faster processor, probably a half a second or slightly more difference in that shot to show time. Although, as we'll likely discuss as we go, still not necessarily up to the standard that some of the competing devices out there demonstrate. The other big difference, or one of the other big differences with the ST Max, is the baked-in or built-in speed training mode that's included with the ST Max that is not available with the SkyTrak Plus. And then additionally, the ST Max has 2 USB-C ports, meaning that a user could charge the device and use it to transmit data simultaneously. So for things like full-time sim setups or commercial spaces, that becomes potentially a nice advantage. The other kind of notable change would be just the paint job, the color difference. The SkyTrak Plus was white as the primary color, and this is more of a charcoal gray. Those are really the differences. Now, when we talk about the differences in price, the SkyTrak Plus is currently available at a closeout price of $1,795, and the ST Max retails for $2,995. So that's a $1,200 difference. However, right now, or starting very soon, and likely when you're watching this, ongoing is a promo or sale price for the ST Max, knocking it down $500 to $2,495. So that narrows that gap between the ST Max and the SkyTrak Plus to $700, which is probably more palatable for everybody. However, it's still $700. More is more, and the question really becomes, even at a $700 difference, is the ST Max with the slightly faster processor, with the built-in speed training, with the second USB-C port, is there enough of an advantage there to justify a $700 difference? I think that's something that consumers want to know. And as much as we'd like to give you a clean yes or no answer, it as it always does, it comes down to what you value most. Are you somebody that's really, really interested in speed training? Perhaps this does become a justifiable price difference. Do you really, really prefer, and will it really improve your experience to have that half a second faster shot to show time? Well, then maybe the difference is worth it. The second USB-C port, is that something applicable to your use case? Then again, maybe those things are worth it. Daniel, am I hitting that in the same way that you would think about those things as maybe you're talking to customers and they're asking you about, why would I spend $700 or $1,200 more for the ST Max over the SkyTrak Plus?
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, I think the key talking points, that you hit them right on the top there. It's the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the dual USB-C ports. Many people who install these for their homes, they do enjoy having that tethered connection or a direct wire from the SkyTrak device to their computer. And what that does is it eliminates any type of connection drop scenario. So because we're transmitting so much data back and forth with these devices these days, it makes everything stable and you don't have to worry about that connection dropping out, which just gives you that comfort of you're not going to have to go through a recalibration or anything like that in the middle of your golf round while you're entertaining people, that sort of thing. So I do think that's important. And like you said, is it worth that additional upgrade? I think that's a case by case basis. I do work with people who just honestly like to have the latest and greatest piece of technology from each company because I'm typically like that too, Mark, where I like to have the latest piece of technology because I know it's going to be supported for the longest time going forward. That sort of thing. However, it's nice to have that the ST Plus, the SkyTrak Plus. It's nice to still have that option because it's a great value to get into the ecosystem for those recreational golfers that may not be too, maybe they're not too focused on self-improvement with speed training or things like that, and they want a basic setup at a specific budget. We can check all those boxes and give them the experience they're looking for with that SkyTrak Plus. So I do think it is a case-by-case thing still. I think both products are still really impressive, especially for, again, we talk about a lot, the value that you're paying. That's what we're weighing and we're comparing and contrasting all the time. They're still really good products. It just comes down to, what does each customer prefer and what are you planning to use it for?
Right. And of course, it also comes down to what else is available on the market and how does it compare. As we get into kind of some of the advantages, the distinct advantages with the SkyTrak system, whether it's the SkyTrak Plus or the ST Max, one that comes to my mind is the software suite, the overall platform, which to SkyTrak's credit, they've improved it continuously and considerably since the ST Plus was first launched. One of probably the biggest kind of headline improvements that they made was the development of their own native sim software called Courseplay. And then they made some really interesting news last year when they launched kind of two different tracks of sim courses, one being from Foresight Sports and one being from TrackMan. So this was really interesting. So now SkyTrak users, and we should note, without having to use a gaming PC, can play Foresight rendered courses or TrackMan rendered courses, or can choose to buy both packages and play either. So one of the fun things is just comparing and contrasting Pebble Beach, for example, how it looks on the Foresight software versus the TrackMan software. The SkyTrak platform is the only such platform that you have that kind of compare and contrast opportunity. Now, that said, the SkyTrak software, of course, does include a subscription. So to play Courseplay, you're going to be paying somewhere between $300 and $500 a year, depending on how you want to use it. The Foresight courses cost $300 a year. The TrackMan courses cost $350 a year. You can get both. As well as the SkyTrak driving range and all of the practice features for $500 a year, if I'm not mistaken. And I do want to talk about some of those ancillary practice features that are included, because I think SkyTrak does it as well or better than any competing product. They have an amazing library of challenges and things that are very specific to what a golfer may want to practice. If I want to practice a fade or a draw or a low punch shot or hitting a high flop shot or any number of various scenarios, they really do a really cool job of making those things available to you and gamifying them, making them really interesting, like hitting around a wall or trying to draw a ball into a very narrow kind of landing strip. And if you overdraw it, of course, you're penalized. Things that really do kind of simulate the kinds of things that we face on a golf course. Not only that, but they give you little kind of tutorials as you go. So there's like little info boxes that you can click on, and you can get information about what different data metrics mean for people that may not understand what some of these points of data are even trying to tell you. They also give you even little tips for what you might do to improve your result. And so those are all kinds of things that I think this whole kind of SkyTrak ecosystem is just presented in a way that, to me, for the average level consumer, is just a lot more intuitive. It's a lot more entertaining. It's it's very inviting to navigate through their software, and I think that's a big advantage. What do you think of that, Daniel? Do you think that that's something that's welcome to kind of the average consumer, or is that something that potentially people don't necessarily care about?
Yeah, I think it's a great option. I know we've discussed it a few times about situational type practice and how I'm a big fan of trying to recreate situations on the golf course, and that really checks every box of what you just walked through there. It really is an inviting opportunity for people to work on different aspects of their golf game, and I think that comes from part of their roots of the golf tech business and having all of the coaches they do at their disposal to learn and understand what golfers need to work on and what they feel like they need to practice on their own time. Because as you and me both know, Mark, you're not going to get everything you learn in the game of golf just by going to a lesson. It takes time away from that instructor, away from that coach, working on your own game and trying to, get better in between those lessons, because you typically only have an hour to 90 minutes with your instructor, and he's not going to make that much magic in that little amount of time. So I think that truly plays to their advantage, that they do have all of that at their disposal, and we've seen that come to fruition here with these latest softwares that came out last year. And it is really unique and really cool that they have that additional integration with the TrackMan and Foresight course plays, because people, when they buy a golf simulator, the experience is all about playing the golf courses, along with the other features there, but nobody else has that integration. So to be able to get that experience without paying the premium price for it is really, really impressive. So, I'm a big fan of, like you said, the practice capabilities, the different games and challenges you can play. I mean, they have like a pin seeker game on there. So it really is, entertainment along with, practice preparation and course play all at the same time. So it's a really nice, well-rounded suite of options that you can use in your space. So I think they've done a wonderful job appealing to many different types of golfers without having to get too extravagant at the same time. It's still very user-friendly, and you can do this on an iPad. You can use it with a MacBook. That's what's really stands out to me too, is that they don't limit your options of how you're running that software, and that's unique to them, because me as a Apple and a Mac guy, I really appreciate the fact that they open that opportunity, because nobody else offers that type of MacBook connectivity. So me as a consumer, I don't have to go buy all these special devices. I can use what I've already got and just hook it up to my system and get going. So I really appreciate all of that.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that's a huge advantage for the right user. The biggest selling point for the ST Plus or the ST Max is that Mac compatibility. You can use it with an iPad. You can use it with a MacBook, and it may seem like that would be something that would be across the industry, but man, Mac users get no love when it comes to golf simulation. I mean, that's just a fact, with the exception of SkyTrak. And so, right off the bat, if you're a Mac user, if you're a diehard in that camp, this is your device, or one of these two is your device. And just kind of piggybacking on what you said and what I had said earlier, I really appreciate any kind of a system that removes some of the intimidation, removes some of the barriers to entry for users, because I think a lot of what people struggle with as they get into golf launch monitors and simulator software is kind of the intimidation of, how does this all work together? How do I get this working in my setup? I'm not a computer guy. I don't feel like I don't want to mess around with graphics settings and whatever else that might legitimately intimidate a user. This system, honestly, with the SkyTrak Plus or the ST Max, it's about as user-friendly as it could be all the way through. So once you're in the software, it's, again, very, very intuitive. And then just as you said, Daniel, the ability to use the software across multiple different platforms is a huge, huge advantage for SkyTrak. So those are definite wins for either the SkyTrak Plus or the ST Max. Now, on to some of the things that maybe are still hangups or potential disadvantages relative to the rest of the market out there. One of the ones is that we touched on is that latency issue, and let's just call it like it is. It still is an issue as I see it for SkyTrak. The SkyTrak Plus had a shot to show time of roughly, very unofficial numbers, 2.6 seconds. The ST Max knocks that down to around 2 seconds. But still, we're talking about making contact with the golf ball and then waiting a beat or two before you see the ball flying on the impact screen in front of you. And I got to say, relative to other products out there, that's a little bit of a buzzkill when you're in the flow of the round and you're trying to, again, we're trying to, as close as possible, replicate what it's like to be on a course, hitting the golf ball and watching it fly through the actual air. That's what we want to see and what we want to feel. And we want it to feel the same as it does when we're out there doing it. And that does kind of introduce a little bit of artifice that's not necessarily welcome. Talk to me about that, Daniel. You're somebody that plays a lot of golf, outdoor golf, green grass golf, and also indoor golf, and you've used all of these products. How do you see that as a factor in 2026?
Sure. Yeah. And, I think it's easy to sit here and assume that, we are big data heads and we all, we're very technical with our golf games. But at the end of the day, like everything for me comes down to feeling that real feel. And I'm a feel player. And so, it sounds weird, but it is really a feel thing when you're playing in a simulated round of golf and you hit the ball and then you're sitting there and you're kind of waiting. It just it makes it feel like a little different type of weird experience. And SkyTrak isn't alone in this. There's other products out there that have similar type of shot delays. I mean, even the TrackMan 4 has a 1.5 to 2 second shot delay. So, and it's 10 times the cost. So, they're not alone in this. So it's not like we're sitting here trying to just, pick them apart for this, but it is something that's certainly noticeable. And, like you said, Mark, when you hit that shot, you want to see the animation kind of starting as soon as possible. And from what I notice, it certainly gets a little bit longer the faster you're swinging. And that's just the processing time of the device itself. I think it's just a hardware limitation. But at the end of the day, if there's going to be a shot delay, at least the data is accurate and it's something you can trust. So, while it may be a disadvantage, you at least know that when you do see the shot, it is going to be something accurate, something you can trust. So, while it is, like I said, it may not be the perfect feel, there's purpose behind it. And, you do get used to it. Now, we also are sitting here comparing it to products like Foresight or other devices that, virtually have no shot delay, or Unicore, things like that, or Pro TVX, the overhead units. So yeah, we're a little bit spoiled that we get to have those comparisons and actually, understand the real feel and how those can get really close to a real round of golf. But for the general user, when they get into using it, it's kind of one of those things you just get used to and it just becomes a normalcy. So, while it is a disadvantage, I don't think it's a direct killer for this product because again, they're not alone. So.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I liken it to if you were watching a game, a sporting event on a small TV versus a big screen TV. If you didn't know the difference, if you didn't have the big screen TV, you would enjoy the game just as much, and you get used to it. But if you have the big screen TV, you get a little spoiled and you enjoy it that much more. Another potential disadvantage, although it's also an advantage, we talked about the Courseplay software, their gameplay software, which is outstanding, but they are trying to herd their users towards their own native sim software experience, which again is great. However, that means that they're kind of trying to kind of close the door on third-party integrations, which wasn't originally the case with this product. But there's no direct GS Pro integration, for example. There are workarounds that exist, but it's not a native connection. And so for the right user, that's a potential drawback. Another big drawback, I think, for any serious player is that there's missing some advanced club metrics relative to other golf launch monitors that are similarly priced. And the big one that jumps out is attack angle. So not having angle of attack, which I think is enough of a cornerstone metric for anyone serious about improvement. Hey, that's a drawback. I mean, we just gotta call it like it is. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Especially, sub 10 handicap players, I think that's something that if you work with an instructor, that's something they're going to look at first is if you're coming to the ball steeply or not. And even plus 10 handicap golfers, a lot of the times they struggle with slicing the golf ball. And typically that, not only does that refer to, club path and face angle, but some of it typically corresponds with just the standard angle of attack and not hitting up on the driver or not hitting down on your iron shots or things like that are, maybe not what PGA Tour players do, but what is suggested by almost all teachers or instructors. So lacking that data is definitely concerning, and it can be a deal breaker for some people. But it is a little bit kind of a question if maybe that could ever be added to these devices. That would certainly be welcomed, I think, by almost every user. But that is the main one that sticks out that's not there and really makes you wish you had it at times when you're going through practice sessions. Yeah.
The other big one that jumps out to me when I tested both of these products is just the inconsistency of the shot reading hit off of natural turf. So the device, both of them, perform very, very well off of a mat, both indoors and outdoors. Accuracy, outstanding. I mean that sincerely. Very, very, very strong. For the price point, for either price point, very strong. However, when we hit off of natural turf, at least when I tested it, it was very inconsistent. It was also, and we should say too that another potential drawback with this device is a little bit of a smaller hitting area. You have to have a pretty precise ball placement. There's a laser that's emitted from the device itself that helps you see exactly where to place the ball. But when you're outdoors, especially on natural turf, it's not always simple to see that laser dot and know exactly where you're positioning the ball. So that alone was a bit of a stumbling point for me when I was testing. But the bigger issue was even when I got that positioning correct, the device wouldn't always read the shot hit off of natural grass. And then when it would, I was left to wonder about the accuracy because it just kind of left me with this feeling of non-confidence. And so that's another potential drawback. Back to the positive side of things, one very interesting thing about both the SkyTrak Plus and the ST Max is that it does not require special golf balls or club stickers. So no fiducials, no RCT balls. And that's an outstanding win, especially for the casual user who just wants to have some fun, wants to entertain some friends, wants to play some sim golf, wants to work on their game and improve, but doesn't want to have to go through the hassle of putting club stickers on, taking them off when they're going to play if they're playing competitively. So I see that as a win. Would you kind of agree with those kind of assessments of other advantages, disadvantages, and am I missing any?
No, I think it's perfectly right on top of what I was thinking as well. And it's one of my biggest selling points with users who are going through the comparisons of launch monitors is, being the unique tracking system that it is, it's both radar and camera. And as I do, Mark, that when you have radar products, you typically need some type of RCT ball or a marking on the golf ball like a metallic sticker. And while that might not seem like that big of a deal, it can become annoying, or it can become kind of frustrating that there's only like 2 or 3 types of RCT golf balls. So if you're a Bridgestone golf ball user, if you're a Strixon, you're kind of just out of luck, or you have to use those metallic stickers on the golf ball, which eventually get torn off, or, may hurt your screen over time and kind of, wear them down faster. The other thing is that it's the only photometric type system that doesn't require club stickers. And I think that's really important, to be able to get club data consistently with every type of photometric system that sits on the floor. You have to have something on your golf club. So to have that user friendliness of being able to just say, okay, I'm going to put the device down. It doesn't matter if it's me and 3 of my buddies playing golf. I don't have to worry about marking everybody's clubs or anything. We just, we can all play our own type of golf ball that we would normally play on the course if we want to, and we're just off and running to play golf. So that truly is along with the ability to use, PC, Mac, or iPad, that, in my opinion, is 2 of the biggest selling points with these devices. Is just, it's again very user friendly in that aspect, that you're still getting all the same data without having additional setup requirements just to be able to get that data. So I think that's really important, and I really appreciate that they've found a way in their technology to get that to the consumer, because it's truly unique. It really is.
Yeah. We've talked about offline about kind of some of the competing products with the SkyTrak Plus or ST Max. Things that jump to mind are the Bushnell Launch Pro Circle B Edition, which is the same hardware as the Foresight GC3, the Unicore iMini. Now, in the case of those devices, they have a built-in display, which is a huge advantage that neither SkyTrak device can match. The other one, speaking of a built-in display that's yet to come, is the upcoming $1,600 Square Omni, which remains a question mark as to exactly how accurate it's going to be once it goes through mass production. We'll have a chance to test that, but that certainly threatens these products potentially. But those built-in devices, or those built-in displays on those competing devices, I think separate them and potentially make those products a better buy or a better option for a user that wants to bring the launch monitor outdoors. I see the SkyTrak Plus with its and the ST Max with its really, really user-friendly software experience, the gamified practice options that they have, and some of the other advantages, the no balls, no special balls and club stickers advantage, as being potentially a better product for an indoor exclusive user, and also for a user that wants a little bit more of a gamified experience that maybe isn't that super hardcore data nerd. Not to say the data's not all there, but that's kind of what jumps to me as kind of the ideal user for either of these products, and also the user that maybe wouldn't be best off choosing SkyTrak. How do you see it, Daniel?
Yeah, I agree, especially from the outdoor scenario. Not, those other devices, they certainly have an advantage not having to have a phone, tablet, or something running that software. There's advantages to that because you can get full session data and comparison for all your clubs, stats tracked and isolated into sessions and stuff like that. But from a ease of use standpoint on the range, those built-in screens certainly have an advantage. Plus, like you said, having that small target to set your ball and hit from is just simply much easier to see indoors or off of artificial turf. So again, not to speak too poorly on these devices, because I do think that they do have a massive target market here, and we sell a lot of these devices for good reason. They're consistent, they're reliable, they're accurate, and relatively speaking, they fit into a really nice target market as far as price and value goes. So, it typically comes down to those type of things. What are they looking for? And at least me at my local driving range, Mark, we don't get a ton of people taking their launch monitors to the driving range. Mm-hmm. So for most users, that isolated indoor or that isolated at home use, these are the perfect products for them, especially for most consumers who are maybe trying to stay around that $5,000 to $6,000 total build, total package option.
Right.
Both of these options slide right into that and give them the ability to do so.
Right. Let's circle back to kind of our original talking point, which was the SkyTrak Plus versus the ST Max. I think they are both potentially outstanding options, but I have to say the SkyTrak Plus at a closeout price of $1,795 is just a killer value. I mean, that's just calling it just straight up. It's an awesome, awesome value. And I think it becomes that much more so when you compare it to the ST Max, honestly, because you see that other than the USB, the second USB-C port, and other than the built-in speed training, and other than the slightly faster processing, you're getting the exact same unit, and you're getting it for $1,795. I think that is undeniably an unbelievable value, and I would encourage somebody that might be on the fence to consider jumping on that before they no longer can, because that is a closeout. That said, if you want speed training, the speed training that's built into the ST Max is outstanding. It's very, very well put together. You don't have to interface with an additional app. You have the option to just fire up your sim software, your ST Max, and your speed training, which is awesome. The second USB-C port, the faster processor. If those things are important to you, then the ST Max is the better buy, and the additional cost is worth it. If you're in that camp, this is the time to act because it's on sale. I believe till April 14th, you can get it for $500 less, so $2,495 as opposed to what is otherwise a $3,000 spend. So again, good times to consider SkyTrak, which is why we wanted to do this episode. No wrong choices here. I think if I'm just speaking my mind, I think for a lot of users, the SkyTrak Plus is the better value, but for specific users, the ST Max is the better product. And at $500 off, now's the time. What are we missing, Daniel? What didn't we hit? Final thoughts.
Yeah, I think like you said earlier, excuse me. It's nice to talk about all these new products that are coming out and be really excited and optimistic, but it's nice to kind of sit back here for a few moments and just respect kind of some of the OGs in the space and understand that, we have companies that have been doing this for a long time, and their products are good for a reason. They have a lot of research and development into them. They have a lot of, good minds behind the methods and the softwares and the things that they're doing. So, I'm really glad that we were able to kind of sit back for a minute and just, admire what we do have already available and what can be shipped, that same or next business day. So, to those that are watching, if you're contemplating devices, these are two really, really important and respected devices in the industry. And, I can assure you, if you're stuck between, these and maybe waiting for a new one, you certainly won't be disappointed going with these SkyTrak devices because they've been successful for a reason. They are really, really good products and something that both, I think, me and Marc really respect in the market. So,
yeah, very well said, Daniel. Both of them are available at PlayBetter.com. If you're confused about either option or maybe still considering one of these versus what else is out there, give Daniel a call, and he will be happy to walk you through the differences even further and maybe help you find what's best for your specific use case. But with that, he's Daniel. I'm Marc. Daniel, we'll do this again next week, eh?
Yeah, looking forward to it, Marc. Thanks so much.
All right. Right on. Well, thank you, everyone, for watching and listening, and we will see you next week.